Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Andrea Graves, Qualitative Research Specialist with Ipsos UU. Andrea, you have the floor.
Thanks, Ellen. Welcome everyone to our webinar. We're very, very excited to have everyone here. My name is Andrea Graves. I've been with Ipsos UU for about 20 years. I am the parent of 5 Gen Zers. That doesn't make me an expert. However, I do a lot of work with this, this cohort, and we're really excited to bring them to life for you. So, and today we're going to cover Gen Z today, who they are, what they're going through, and talk a little bit about why we as brands can't really skip COVID when we think about Gen Z. And we're going to hear a lot directly from Gen Zers who are on a panel with us. And I'd like them to introduce themselves. So as I say their name, they're going to introduce themselves, share their pronouns, and talk a little bit about what they're up to now. So Sophia.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm Sophia. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going to be a junior in college for Susquehanna University, and I'm really excited to be here.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia. Zach.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound
all right.
Great.
My name is Zach. I go by he, him, his. I currently live in Pennsylvania with my parents. I'm just working over the summer until I become a senior at Susquehanna University as well. And I'm very excited to be here today.
Awesome. Welcome, Zach. Athena.
Hi, I'm Athena. I use she, her. I'm currently at college in Oberlin, Ohio, doing research on environmental psychology, and I'm excited to be back on this panel.
Excellent. Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma. I use she, her pronouns. I am going into my junior year at IU Bloomington, but I'm home for the summer because my job kicked me out for COVID. I'm really excited to be here.
Thanks, Emma. Shiloh.
Hi, I'm Shiloh. My pronouns are they, them, and I live in Bloomington and work as a pet technician at a doggy daycare.
Okay, excellent. Last but not least, Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I go by he, him. I'm just excited to start my junior year at CU Boulder.
Excellent. And you're out there in Boulder?
Yep, I'm out here in Boulder.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Well, so one of the things that I'm going to talk to you all about or have you think about is this generation is extremely different from any of the previous generations, and I think we say that about every generation when we do these types of things, but these differences are remarkable and making an impact on the generations older than them. So they're teaching us things about being global, diverse, fiercely independent, self-expressive, devoted to intersectionality, inclusive, they're allies, and yes, they love the 1980s. And we're going to bring this, I'm going to share a music video that I think kind of brings some of these things to life. I urge you in the chat to start giving us questions that you want us to ask the panel, any comments that you have about content that we're showing, and let's take a look at this video. So what's interesting about that is, it's better. There's so many interesting things about that. If you don't know, that was BTS who has smashed the Beatles records, Elvis records, everybody's records. Their new single broke the record for the most viewers for the premiere of a video on YouTube with 3.9 million concurrent viewers. So that's different people on different devices all over the world watching the premiere. It now has 320 million views and counting. I think last night it was 310, this morning it's 320. So this brings to life also this idea of micro fandoms, which I have been talking about with Gen Z for years. Because of the connectedness of this generation, they can make fandoms out of very, very small things. So BTS's fan base is ARMY. It stands for Adorable Representative MC for Youth. They were directly called out in that music video. I don't know if you saw it. They mention them and they actually spell them out. That's loyalty. I mean, when you think of a brand, if you consider BTS a brand and having a following or a fandom like that, that they actually kind of rely on and look to, is amazing. They broke other records. Spotify, they broke records. But the fascinating thing that we will continue to bring to life is on this panel, I asked all of them to give me their 5, favorite bands and musicians. No one mentioned BTS. So that just also brings to life this idea that there are so many diverse ways for Gen Z to express themselves and things that they like and things that make them who they are. Next slide. Hold on. Oh, gosh. Jeez. Glad I have Karen here to help me. Okay, so Gen Z today. So I want to talk quickly about what makes Gen Z unique and who they are, and I definitely want to hear from the panelists after this. So most of Gen Z are the kids of Gen X, and that's what makes them unique. So I'm a Gen Xer, hardcore. We were the kids that were kind of latchkey kids. Our moms were the ones that started to go off working. And so this can-do spirit kind of empowers Gen Z now, on the most part, to believe they can do what they want and can do what they achieve. And they're kind of cheered on for their individuality rather than being enabled or held to some other ideal, which tended to happen to Gen, again, to Gen Y in a general way. They're ready to run the world. They don't need positive reinforcement that's required by many millennials. They're teaching, they're leading, they're inspiring. And we have Greta Thunberg, we have Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles just smashed records yesterday, and there was a 13-year-old swimmer that shattered a 400 IM record. I mean, these kids are just doing things that they want to do, right? And they're and they are really excited about them. So we know Gen Z demands diversity, authenticity, a desire to do the right thing, and this recognition that the world is in their hands. We've kind of given them all of this stuff, and now they're kind of dealing with it. So I asked a question of the panel, and I want to call on them. And I asked them, what do you feel like is misunderstood about Gen Z? So what would you like to share? What do you think are some misunderstandings? Who wants to go? Go ahead, Sophia.
Yeah, I can start. I know that Emma and I kind of took our surveys together a little bit, so we talked a lot about these together. And one thing we thought about was laziness. Like, I feel like we hear from a lot of older generations that Gen Z is kind of like being handed things, or that like things were harder in the olden days and that we just don't get it anymore. And it's very frustrating to have to explain to someone why maybe if you don't have a job that like you can apply to as many jobs as you want, that doesn't mean they're going to hire you. Like, it's not that we're lazy, it's just that the opportunities that existed for older generations straight up do not exist for us.
Interesting. What else? What are some other misconceptions? Zach?
Is it right? Can I speak?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So I think one thing kind of along the same lines, but in a different direction, is that I think a lot of older generations perceived Gen Z as like kind of standoffish or maybe more aggressive in some ways than others, especially with like social issues. And I think that more so just comes from a place of like, we saw that like everything going on and we're like, well, we're kind of fed up with this, so we're not going to stand around and wait for everybody to catch up and like, wait for everybody to like finally realize like, big issues are important and that like certain groups of people deserve like basic human rights. Like, we're just going to go out and take that for ourselves, and like if you're caught in the dust, like that's kind of on you.
Yeah, interesting. Anyone else builds on that? Shiloh?
I think along those lines, like a lot of the issues that have been building for a long time, like things like climate change, have sort of culminated into like this era of our generation. So a lot of those issues are a lot more real for us, which is why we're so determined to like do something about it, more so than maybe previous generations who it was sort of like in the future, this could result in something bad.
Other thoughts on this? What do you feel like, Athena, that is misunderstood about Gen Z?
The thing that I thought of is kind of our diversity, not just in like identities, but in like interests and hobbies, because like when our parents were in high school, for the most part, everyone like listened to the same music, everyone like watched the same shows, but now like for our whole like childhood and now like we can get on our phone and listen to whatever we want from anywhere in the world, and I feel like we're a lot more unique from each other than older generations because of that.
Okay. Well, what do you think, Daniel? Any thoughts?
Yeah, kind of going back to what Shiloh said, from my experience, a lot of the older generation is kind of defeated almost, like on a lot of issues, like in discussions with my parents or when we're voting. My parents will just like, when we're discussing something, they're just like, well, this is my ideal, but it's not going to happen, so why would I go for it? And then our generation is more of, well, this is our idea, and why can't we get it? Why can't we fight for it? Why can't we do it?
No, excellent. And I think so. I think we already spoke to this. I know that one of the quotes was, "People think we are all overly sensitive. We mainly just want to respect people." Did you write that, Zach? Somebody? Yeah. Oh, Daniel. I love this because I think that emulates a lot of what I know from from studying other Gen Zers is, when they're allies or when they're standing up for people, it's about respect for the people. It's not that they are kind of, feel overly sensitive. It's a perfect word. It's a perfect quote. I love it. And I want to go on to talk a little bit about the pandemic and how it has shaped this generation. We know this, you guys know this, you're living it. School shutdowns, quarantines, soaring mental health diagnoses, and high unemployment rates, which I know Sophia spoke to. They are coming of age in a dramatic socioeconomic tumult. And what is really different about this is when we think about where they are in their lives, right? Graduation, college entrance, college graduation. I mean, these are major life stage points that are being completely blown away. Where if I talk to millennials about the pandemic, which I do a lot, the millennials will say, "Oh, I just can't wait to get back and to party with my friends," right? Because they've already gone through those big life changes of, some of them even married, have kids. So these changes that we're putting this generation through in a pandemic is even more explosive. We have a really powerful video to share about kind of the global effects of the pandemic on global teens, and I'll share that now. Okay, so what about my panelists? Did that touch anyone? Tell me about that, Emma. You're shaking your head.
Well, I don't know about everyone else here, but attending Zoom University was probably one of the more painful experiences of my life. It was just hard to do everything and work and pay. Like, we're living on our own for the first time, so some of us are like paying their own way, which is also super hard. So you have to do all of those things at once and also not be able to see your friends because they might infect you with the disease.
Yeah. Other things. What did you think, Sophia?
I think it's also important to note that, like, because of Zoom University, we all lost the separation between like our work and our personal life and our school life. Like, for the spring semester, I was at school in the fall and I just like couldn't keep doing it. I was very unhappy there. So I came home in the spring in the hopes that it would be better, but then I just spent the entire semester, like either chained to the desk in my childhood bedroom or like at work. And that's all I did for like 4 months. So it was pretty miserable.
What about you, Daniel? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, somebody in the video said that they missed out on going to the library, meeting with professors, meeting with students, and I've been feeling that significantly because in this past year I didn't meet a single one of my classmates, and I'm an engineering major, so this is the first year that like I started being in classes with my major. So I don't really know anybody in my major. I don't really know the professors really. Like I've watched them lecture for 2 semesters, but they don't know me. I don't know them personally, and I'm just missing out on connections, like professional or personal, that that otherwise I would have gotten.
What about you, Zach? Any thoughts after that video?
I was just going to echo some of what Daniel said, where like I switched my major from English, like something with publishing and editing, to marketing right as like the pandemic began in that March. And since then, like I've been taking major related courses for like the past 2 or 3 semesters. And it's like, you know, I don't feel like I'm grasping as much as I could. Like I've been taking basically every single class from my my bedroom at my like townhouse on campus. And it's really, really hard for me to just like focus on stuff. So now I'm like not only missing out on like the school and like the content we're supposed to learn, but it's like Daniel said, I'm missing out on connections and like professional opportunities because like internships aren't as available anymore as well. Like I still need to work over the summer, like for some kind of income. And now like I'm going into my senior year, you know, there's a lot of pressure for me to go find a job in like a market that's already kind of, you know, topsy-turvy. And like I'm missing out on these professional connections that could like help me get ahead. But it's like I feel like I don't have enough time to do all of that and like balance school, balance like working on campus or like working off campus at like my grocery store I work at, and then like also being part of like student organizations and like other things on campus that I like want to do for leisure. So
Athena?
Yeah, like most of us in this group, we were like when COVID happened, we were living on our own, like without our parents for the very first time, and then given like 2 days to move out. So I think that was traumatizing. And then the transition to online school just like didn't work for me. So like I took a year off. I had to start like getting anxiety medication. Like it was pretty rough, but now like I'm back at school and I've been working with this research group for like over 6 months. And this week we're about to have our first in-person, like some of us are meeting in person for the first time ever, which is really emotional. And so I'm starting to like feel back to normal at college and hanging out with my friends and stuff.
Okay. Shiloh?
So I haven't been in a physical school since I was 15. So I have a bit of a different experience with the whole transitioning to online school. Wasn't really the difficult part for me. But I, as you know, moved to a new town where I didn't know anyone at the end of 2019. And of course, in a few months, the social network that I was trying to build, you know, I didn't have access to any of that because I'm not supposed to, you know, go and see people or meet new people. And pretty much my whole life became going to work, working full time, and then being at home, which has been really difficult mental health wise. Like I had to stop taking classes last year just for my own mental health. And, you know, my life outside of work is very limited right now because of everything, which is difficult.
All right. So going on to the next slide. We just did the panel discussion. So this slide's a little bit, this is some Ipsos work that we did. We've just heard our panelists talking about this. 73% of parents say COVID had a negative impact on their teens' ability to interact with friends. 46% noticed kind of new or worsening mental health conditions, higher among girls. So there's this idea that, well, and we've heard it, it's not an idea, it's reality, that Gen Z is kind of in this languishing place where we've read about and we know that boomers are flourishing, right? They've had significant loss too, but they are going back to these things that they loved doing together, and they're taking vacations and they're doing all of these things because they are kind of reconnecting to those connections that they had that Gen Z wasn't able to develop. So now I want to talk about a little bit of this is repetitive, but so the implications for this are that this is really, really different for Gen Z, the pandemic, than for any other generation. And even before, and some of you have spoken to this, even before the pandemic, they had all of these things that we handed to them. Mass shootings, climate change, Black Lives Matter, racial inequality, LGBTQ rights. I mean, all of these things that they are motivated to make changes to because we, as previous generations, haven't done a good job. And then we're like, oh, by the way, here's a pandemic. So that's kind of where they are right now. And I think what this third point was just brought to life about this idea of needing to rediscover how to connect to people in a real way. On another panel that Emma was on, Emma had a quote that she hadn't met a friend in a year, and hopefully we've met a friend since then. But that's a powerful quote, to know that you haven't made a new friend in a year. And when we are talking to this generation as brands, and we have to be very sensitive to where they are, and they're still kind of going through COVID, where some of us are not. We're out there, we're doing things that we want to do. And so this idea that brands can play a big part is, it's really energizing and it's exciting, but brands are probably going to have to do it in new ways, ways that they didn't before. So what I want to talk about right now is brands. So I asked a bunch of questions about brands to my panel. And so what are some brands that you think are doing a great job in terms of connecting to you and understanding Gen Z and kind of that you relate to? You want to start, Daniel?
I'm sorry, could you restate the question?
No, it's okay. It's okay. What are some brands that that you feel like are doing a really, really great job connecting with Gen Z and kind of that you connect with?
The first one that comes to mind is Subaru. I've been seeing a lot of things, like their commercials and their marketing is very inclusive, and it feels more genuine. And then also they have this thing that just came out called Badges, where you can basically just customize your Subaru a little bit more with just like a produced little like high quality metal sticker that goes on the back of your Subaru that just shows where you've been and what you've done. So it's just a way, and it's in the same design as like the Subaru cars, and it's in the same and it just like sticks right back on the back of your car like a bumper sticker, but it just looks clean, and it's a fun way of individualizing your car and showing like where you've been and like what you've done. So it's just telling your story as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who else? Who wants to talk about their brand they're passionate about, or more than one brand? Sophia, go.
Yeah, sure. So one brand that I think is connecting really well with Gen Z is Lush. Emma and I are very obsessed with Lush. Yeah. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I just really appreciate their like commitment to sustainability. And like they are a little bit more expensive, but like in my older years, I've found that I don't mind paying a little bit more when I know that it's going to be sustainable. And
that is word for word a conversation we had about 2 hours ago, and I want everyone to know that.
It's true. And then like when you go to the store, it's also an experience, and it's just so nice, and all the employees are so friendly, and they'll do like little demos for you, and it's just so lovely.
Now I'm going to challenge you guys on this. So Ulta, Sephora. I mean, you can have those beauty experiences. How is Lush doing it differently? Anyone?
Lush is just so heavily sustainable, and I am a little bit obsessed with them. And they just put their money where their mouth is. They don't. You can run as many diversity and sustainability ads as you want in the world, but it won't really make a difference unless your products show that as well. And they've had very popular products that they've had to cancel because they can't sustainably get the resource to make them anymore, which is, I think that's something to admire about a company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Athena?
Yeah, so when I was like answering this question, I don't really have a specific brand in mind. I think we can like sum it up by saying that we like brands that are like no BS brands, like with their ingredients, with their like working conditions and like pay, and also like donating to causes that we agree with is really important too.
So how do you, I love that build. So how do you find out about like the brands are doing this in social media or?
Mostly I'm really susceptible to like Instagram ads, and their algorithm is like so precise that, yeah, social media.
All right. Shiloh. You're on mute. I think you're on mute.
I was just going to say, kind of following what Athena said, like brands that clearly prioritize people, or at least imply that they prioritize people more than money, like both their customers and then also their employees. Like I know Lush pays really well, and they, I believe, have on their website like the sort of benefits and how they treat their employees and what they do to make their employees, comfortable in their job. And like it just shows that they're saying, hey, not only do we want to be good for you, but we also want to take care of our own people, which is so rare these days, especially with, when you get to like the level of like salespeople, and getting like a summer job, at the mall or whatever. Then it's like you're so expendable and you're just treated like garbage, like fast food. And it's just really nice to know that like a company actually cares more than just, they want to make as much money as possible.
I asked a question about brands that a brand that if you were asked to help co-create something, who would you choose? Newsflash, 3 of you chose Target, so they're doing something right. Apparently, one of you talked about Sony and PlayStation. Who was that?
That would be me.
Okay, tell me a little bit about them. What do you admire about them as a brand?
This is like something I kind of was like doing a survey with my friends as I thought of this. But when I was talking with them, like the one brand that we came to like a consensus that was doing things really well to appeal to Gen Z was Xbox over at Microsoft. And we're big gamers. Like we grew up like playing Xbox as kids, and like we kind of grew with it. And as I guess it's been decades since like the first Xboxes and PlayStations came out, but like as time's gone on, it feels like the two companies have gone very like different ways with how they like brand and market. And Xbox feels very much like geared toward like accessibility and like making sure that they have a very like stable and like welcoming community for a lot of like first time people who are just getting into the hobby, and like a lot of like existing people as well. Whereas like Sony feels it's like an exclusive like niche thing. And I would say like they're kind of like losing touch with like younger generations, because like Xbox, you can go in and they have this thing called Game Pass where you can just like have like this huge list of games you can just download at any point in time. And like Sony's like increasing like the price of their like console exclusive games to like $60-$70, like maybe $80 in the future. And they don't have like a huge library that you can just go and play with friends. They have a lot of stuff for like the established person in their ecosystem, like somebody who's been there since like the PlayStation 1 days. They're following their franchise that they love. Like they have like their God of War, they have, you know, now they have like Insomniac Games, who's making Spider-Man. Like they're doing a lot of good game making, but they're not doing a lot of good community building. And I think that's where like they kind of fall behind.
Yeah, so tell me, that's really interesting. Why, and we keep hearing this community building theme, why do you feel like that's important?
I think it ties in a lot at this point where a lot of people have spoken on how like they feel disconnected from like social groups. And like they don't have a lot of outlets, and especially during pandemic times, like online gaming is something where it's easy to stay connected if you have like a group of people you play with all the time. Like that's how I stayed in touch with my friends. Like we were able to stay on Xbox or like not PlayStation, PC, and just play like the same things at the same time. Where you go over to PlayStation, Sony, they kind of like they have a more inaccessible like multiplayer system or like online. From what I've heard, it's not as intuitive to use. Again, I take this at face value because I've not been part of their ecosystem, but like it's not as like welcoming, I would say. I think a lot of their fans get a lot of like reputation for being kind of like very stick in the mud, like we are superior, and I think that brushes people away as well. So maybe marketing to like more casual people with like some more casual games, I suppose.
Okay. Just for those playing at home, we're going to get into the quick fire questions. So please submit your questions via chat. It can be anything at all, from what's your favorite color to what are your political thoughts on indoor plants. So first of all, we already have some coming in. So have any of you recently changed career goals or what you want to do in life during the pandemic or because of something that was happening during the pandemic? Anyone? No? Oh, go. Sophia, go.
Yeah, so I go to school for English publishing and editing. So when I started, I wanted to move to New York. I wanted to be in the publishing industry and all that jazz. And now I've kind of shifted. I would like to go to grad school for library sciences. And now I have like wild fantasies of like being a librarian, just being left alone for the rest of my life.
Interesting. Who else? Other changes in career goals or thoughts, or maybe not? Emma.
So I am a business major, which everyone who knows me is a little confused by. And my advisor is also confused by it. And so he's been encouraging me to look into MFA programs for studio art, which I'm minoring in currently. And so I have a very in-depth plan that I probably won't follow, where I get an MFA and maybe fibers art and then become an art teacher and teach at like a high school for the rest of my life. So this pandemic has really done something to me.
In a good way? Like, is that a good thing? Do you feel like that you've done that?
Well, considering right now it's more of a very in-depth fantasy I go into when I'm at work and I'm really bored, I'm going to stick with good.
All right. What about the rest of you? Any changes in career goals or what you want to do when this is all? Zach?
I've always wanted to be like a writer, but I switched to marketing during the early days of the pandemic because I was like, it'll be a stable like thing while I do this as like a side hustle. And now I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm just very intimidated by the rigidity of like office job hours, because I very much have decided now that because of the pandemic, I've been inside for so long, and because my study abroad trip I was supposed to go on got canceled, I'm like, I really want to get out and like see more of the world while I can. And it's really kind of frustrating that maybe I won't get like the hours that I need to like go do that. The regular work week schedule is very intimidating. So I'm like 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And I'm kind of like working 6 hours, 5 days a week now. And I'm like, I just don't have the time to like do things that I want to do. And by the time I get home, it's like, I, feel burnt out. So it's like, I've considered doing something like streaming video games as a way to get like more flexible hours for myself in the future. Very lucrative pipe dream, but like,
all right.
Yeah.
Excellent. So one question. So what are you most looking forward to doing post, first of all, I want to understand, what does post-COVID mean to you? Does that mean everyone's vaccinated, no one has to wear masks? And then what are you most looking forward to doing? What's something that you just can't wait to do that you did before? Shiloh, no pressure, we'll start with you.
Well, as far as like what post-COVID looks like, I know in Indiana you can now go out without a mask and go into most places without a mask if you've been fully vaccinated, which of course you're just sort of working up the honor system there. And where I work, that is also a policy for the employees. But even though I'm fully vaccinated, I still wear my mask up front, which confuses a lot of my coworkers. I just feel very worried that people are going to get too lax like they did last summer, and then it's going to spike again because you look like what's going on in Britain right now with the Delta variant. You know, things can happen. It's hard to say when things are going to be over.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Athena?
Yeah, so at my college, we're kind of in a little like liberal bubble. So everyone's vaccinated and we don't wear masks and we go to class and we go get food and we go to parties and hopefully it'll be fine. But I'm excited to like go to real concerts and travel internationally, hopefully soon.
Other thoughts on that? What do you want to, Sophia, go for it.
I agree. I'm also really excited for concerts to start back up. Like, I didn't even realize that was something that I actively like baked for. I miss it so much. But yeah.
So ideal first concert that you want to see? Front row.
Glass Animals.
Okay.
I've seen them before. They were just amazing performers. But yeah, I would go back.
Okay. Excellent. Anyone else? What do you want to do first? What are you looking forward to post-COVID?
Sophie and I have been talking a lot about how we plan on going to the opera and pretending to be like fancy people. Because now that we're technically adults, we can pretend to be fancy. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I love that. I love that we can still inject a little humor and creativity into things. So another question coming up here is, has COVID impacted where you want to live, right? Some of you have talked about, hey, I went back home and I could do online, or I went to where I go to school, but I still do online. Has COVID made you think differently about kind of where you could possibly move or real estate or like anything like that? Anyone? Oh, Athena.
Yeah, so I already wanted to leave the country as soon as possible, but after America's response to COVID, I want to somehow even more want to like go to grad school in Scandinavia. So it kind of solidified my desire to not live in America ever again.
Okay. What do the rest of you think? Go, Sophia.
I think the pandemic really increased my anxiety, like my crowd anxiety. And so like I am no longer like I don't live in cities. I don't think I could take the pressure of living like in a place with that many people that would be so susceptible to really any disaster, like natural disasters, pandemics, like terrorism. Really can't be doing with any of it anymore.
Any other thoughts on that one? We've got some others coming in. So so the causes that you believe in, right? So what are we doing? How are we supporting causes that we believe in? Anyone? Bill? Daniel?
Yeah, so I've actually like discussed this with some people before. It's kind of annoying and frustrating as a Gen Z person because, at least for me, I've done what I think, not the most I can do, but I've gone to protests, I've donated to causes I believe in, and most importantly, I voted for the causes I believe in. And I've sent emails to senators, to Congress people to try to get my way, but it just feels like there's not much more we can do. because as our generation, we just don't have the capital, like we don't have the money or time to be able to devote ourselves to a cause that we truly believe in. Um, like with the Black Lives Matter protest last summer, like I said, I was going to protest, I was donating, I was calling, I was voting, but I just felt like, just things kept happening, and I felt like I was doing the most I could with the time and money I had, but it just kept happening, and it just felt just very frustrating when I'm seeing that.
Mm-hmm. What about the rest of you?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of what Daniel said applies a lot. Like Gen Z as a generation, it's like we're still up and coming. Like we don't have acquired capital, we don't have time because we're just like so far behind in like capital that we're making up for all that last time. And so, and like a lot of like the acquired stuff, like old money people, like no offense, but they're not really on our side because they've already got all the stuff established in the world, that they want. So I think like what we do, we just come up against brands and we have to be like, hey, like you gotta kind of shift with us or we can't be buying from you. And I know there's been this ongoing debate about like cancel culture, which doesn't exist in my opinion. But like if we see like brands where like I know there's one very famous one in the news who they're like, we're not going to donate to anti-LGBTQ charities, and then they did that. We're not going to support that anymore, or at least we shouldn't. And it's kind of like it would have to be like we just have to stop consuming stuff that doesn't support our goals. And again, I think it ties into some of the arrogance that I was talking about earlier that people perceive us as, but it's like we don't have a lot of avenues to do this kind of thing, so we got to take them where they are.
That's fair. So quick switch to cooking, meal prep. So obviously some of you have moved back home. Are you eating out? Are you learning to cook more? Anything that has really changed in terms of like meal prep or cooking? Sophia?
So I live with my mom and I do most of the cooking in our house. And when I first moved back, like back in December, I was cooking, I was meal prepping, we're having great. But then like midterms and then slid into finals hit and I have not been cooking. We have been ordering out. And it does make me feel like garbage. And I think it's interesting that like cooking and meal prepping and food has such a drastic impact on your mental health, especially when you feel like you can't control like your time and therefore you can't control what you're eating and cooking for yourself.
Emma, on that.
Yeah, mine's pretty much the same. I'm home for the summer, of course, but when I first moved out, I was doing really well. I was cooking maybe 1 or 2 big meals a week, and I was making myself lunches and breakfast. And that kind of trickled into me eating nothing but tater tots for 2 weeks because I was too tired and I didn't have enough time to cook anything. I would rather just go to sleep without eating than have to take the time out to cook a meal.
Okay. What about do you know what that means?
Owning, sorry. How do you feel about owning things versus
Okay, so here's a question, very important question about streaming. So y'all are doing a lot of streaming of things. So I guess, how do you feel about, say, you're streaming, watching a show, and then, it goes away. You're not getting a DVD. You're not like getting a VCR tape or anything. You're consuming through watching, and then, is that okay? Do you guys like that? Is it just what you do? Anyone?
I still like, if there's things that like I go and like I really want on DVD or like Blu-ray is what I buy, like I'll go out and get it. For example, like I'm a big Star Wars fan. I have tried to get as many of the movies on Blu-ray as I can, but also then like Disney Plus came out right in the middle of that, so like they're all there and they're not like in a thread going away. So I just kind of stopped doing that.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, so you got the Blu-rays, but then when Disney Plus came and you had access, then you're like, I might as well just watch them on streaming?
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel like streaming did anything for you guys in terms of learning new things or understanding new things, or is it? Go ahead, Sophia.
I have to say, I watch a lot more nature documentaries now. I find them very soothing. I really just put them on the background. I love them a lot. But also, I think that like streaming has kind of changed the way we consume media into more of like a almost like a obsessive hobby where like especially when Netflix releases an entire season at a time, you can just binge watch the whole thing and you just kind of sit there and you feel very empty. I almost like Disney Plus's approach better where they release one episode at a time so you can actually like watch the episode and then like go online and like talk about it and like see all the content that people are talking about it. I just sit there and I scroll through the Twitter tag for hours. And it's fun, and then you get to actually like have little theories, and it feels more interactive than just releasing the whole season at once.
Interesting. So lots of questions here. Why does everybody like Target? Go Athena, quick.
I think that for me, it's mostly because they are so quick to catch on to Gen Z trends, which like that's something like maybe not so positive about their like working like production habits, but I think I like being able to like go in and like in the home section and in the clothing section, like they have stuff that is like so like on trend at that time, which I don't know. Maybe my like fashion sense is just like I like what Target has because I just have always liked Target, but I feel like they're very quick to catch on to things more than other brands.
Who else wanted to work with Target? Sophia.
I don't know if you're aware, but Target has collabed with a few new designers in their clothing lines. And if you're on the internet, especially on TikTok, you know that it's a very contentious topic. People think that they're either super ugly or they think that they're absolutely phenomenal. I do think they are phenomenal. I love them. And I think it's so interesting that Target was able to take like kind of more like high fashion design and like turn them into a like almost like a trend, and it made it like I don't want to say more accessible because fast fashion is garbage and there's really no way around that. But they made like more high fashion things more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And I really jive with that.
Mm-hmm. So there's a tension, and I had a slide on this, about kind of the fast fashion Target, Forever 21. How do you guys wrestle with that, right? Because how do you... Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, most of the stuff I buy clothing-wise is Goodwill or just thrift store, or hand-me-downs, or just trading clothes with friends I have. Just fast fashion I don't support. But sometimes, like, this might just be my point of view, but I see it as like a once in a while, like even Target, like as like a once in a while, like treat myself kind of thing, because they might have like this brand new thing that looks really cool. And I've been buying the past 2 years, all my clothes are from Goodwill. So I'm just like, oh, I can buy this like one thing because it's nice and I genuinely like it. But like, I just still feel kind of like guilty buying it, even though I'll wear it for I'll wear it until it falls apart. But it's just, all right. That's how I view it.
Okay, wrap up. Ooh, 2 minutes. Okay, speed round, deep thoughts. And we'll start on the other end. Daniel, you just spoke. So, and then all the rest you can think about it. 10 years from now, what are you doing in your life? Fast forward. Daniel, where are you? What's happening?
Hopefully I'm working at some sort of engineering firm that does either like contracted work or just new work every time, some sort of research and development, just because I don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again. I want to have a new problem that comes in that I have to problem solve, test, design, and then put out there, and then I get a new problem.
So do you feel you'll be family with a partner, kids, anything?
Yeah, like hopefully I have a large support network of friends and family and animals. Like I'm really excited to be stable enough to have a dog or a cat or some sort of animal.
Okay. Zach, 10 years, where are you? What's Zach doing?
Oh boy. Well, hopefully I'll like be looking to settle down because I guess, oh God, I'll be 31. Ew. Yeah, I'll be like looking to settle down, hopefully have a long-term partner and like maybe have a kid on the way or something. And then I'll have like a stable 9 to 5-ish, whatever the work week is there. But on the way to like publish my first book, hopefully. So
Excellent. We'll say we knew you then. Okay, Sophia, 10 years from now, Sophia's doing what?
I would love to be working in a library. I would love to like direct the youth program because I intern at my current public library for the youth program and I think it's super fun. So I'd love to be doing that. No kids. You couldn't pay me to have a child. You really couldn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that sounds good.
Athena, 10 years.
Okay.
Athena, where are you?
I actually don't dream of labor, so no, but hopefully I would be somewhere in Europe, maybe just like moved out of the city with my partner to start thinking about having kids. But I do want to be like in a position where I'm helping people. I may be working with kids. But I think that we just want to like not feel like we have so many responsibilities, but also like be independent. I don't know.
Emma,
That's what
10 years, 10 years from now, Emma.
Likely answer, probably working in like banking or something. Dream answer, I own a bakery and I live in an apartment above it with my toddler daughter.
Awesome. Shiloh, last but not least, 10 years from now.
I don't know. I'm not at a point in my life where I have dreams about my future. I'm just grabbing at whatever makes me happy and keeps me alive right now. And that's what's working.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. We have a lot more questions. So people watching at home, we will get those out to you and I'll touch base with my panelists on some of those. And yeah, we are at an hour. Thank you, panelists, so much. And if you all have any questions on the listening side or want any follow-ups, the slide there has my contact information and you can send more questions. You can talk to us about additional Gen Z panels that we have and Gen Z approaches and some secondary work that we do as well. So thank you, panel. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.